Welcome to the Black Doctor Collective podcast. We as Black doctors are in a unique position. We can change our communities, healthcare, and the world. Of course, we start by changing the way we see and value ourselves. I'm your host, Dr. Shanika Horn, pediatrician and physician coach, travel extraordinaire. I am so happy to have you here and listening. So let's get into it. Hey, happy Tuesday. So I did a masterclass on Contract Secrets, and because y'all are my people, I'm going to give you a little snippet, only a little snippet, because if you didn't register, sorry. And also that thing was a little over an hour and I'm not redoing that. I am going to talk a little bit about some secrets that all of us should know. Essentially, this is for anyone who is in practice, who has an upcoming negotiation, maybe in the next 6 months, or if you're going through one right now, or if you have questions about your current contract, perhaps you signed a contract, you're not sure, or what's included or what should have been included, you think you might be underpaid with this contract, or you just generally want to know things about contracts and you want to become more confident in that subject matter. This is the podcast episode for you. First disclaimer, if you have ever missed your opportunity to negotiate or accepted a contract right out the gate, didn't review it, didn't amend it, or if you did try, like you read it, you maybe asked a question, but after it didn't seem like it was going to go favorably, you just went ahead and signed, I want to reinforce that it is not your fault that medical training did not give you this information. Howsoever, it is absolutely your responsibility to improve. There's no reason you should be signing contracts like Apple agreements, okay? Don't be signing away your life, not knowing what you're signing up for. I know contracts are boring. I too don't read the Apple agreement, but you got to do better. I think contracts and negotiation are like a group project, I always say, in that you are supposed to be a contributing member to the process. And so if you are not contributing to the process, you that one group member that doesn't do the work and thinks that just by agreeing with what the other group members are saying, that it's going to be fine. We don't do that. And as doctors, we are not slackers. We are not known to be slackers. We worked really hard. You are perseverant. You are a hard worker. There's not a lazy bone in that body. Although I've heard doctors say that about themselves, can be no way that you did all this work and studied all that time and that you would consider yourself lazy just because you don't want to continue being a workhorse in the system of medicine. Those are different things, but that's an aside. Don't be the lazy group member. Don't be the person that doesn't do the work. The other point I want to make is you think your job sucks or that your career isn't going well. And it's because you're just sitting back hoping that someone's going to be fair to you and that they're going to recognize your efforts and your value. And they are not. You have to communicate what you want. Ain't nobody a mind reader. Nobody knows what's going to make you happy in your job except you. So if you are sitting back complaining about how they're being unfair to you and you've never indicated what fair even looks like, because obviously there's a difference in definitions, right? Then that's on you. And you got to own that part and then take the steps, right? Okay. Asking for a contract change is not ungrateful. In fact, if you choose gratitude, you're going to be grateful and poor. You're going to be grateful and lacking time. You're going to be grateful and have dreams unfulfilled. We don't do that around these parts. We out here, we have done all of the groundwork to earn where we are in order to live a really good life. Medicine's a career. It's just one facet of life. Cannot take over everything. You got to stop with the altruism and the gratitude. And that's what's keeping you back. You want to change. Listen, it's not my job to be grateful. I spent more than $250,000 getting this education. You need to be grateful to me at this point. You're welcome. The other false belief I see is that people think they need to quit their jobs in order to create a better scenario for themselves. So you're in a job where you never spoke up, you never indicated what it is you wanted, you never negotiated for a higher salary. And rather than figuring out how to make changes within your current role, you've convinced yourself that it is easier to go and find a new job. That's only because you don't know how to create a negotiation scenario where you are. So you're like, everyone negotiates at the start of a job. I'll just start a new job, and that will start from scratch. Wipe the slate clean. People love that. Turning a new page, a brand new leaf, whatever the phrases are. You're going to go to that next job and you're going to hate it there too, because you still won't say anything. So unless you're going through the challenges of why, or unless you're challenging your mind and saying, I need to speak up, I need to learn how to negotiate, I need to learn how to understand my contract, you're going to go to that new place. You're going to be miserable over there too. So one of the stories I told last night was I had a client, former client, who when we first did our first chat, this was like even pre my program, we did our first chat and she was talking about how she loved her job. She thought there was room for upward mobility. She liked generally the people that she worked with. She was pretty comfortable there, but she was underpaid. And the reason she was underpaid was she didn't know what the market value for her role was at the time. And she didn't really ask enough questions. And she found out after signing the contract what people were getting as a starting salary. And that made her feel really bad about negotiating, because she was punishing herself for not having done the research beforehand. She was blaming herself for being in the scenario of making not enough money. And it was also creating a resentment. Underneath everything, the satisfaction at the job, it's really hard to be satisfied in a place where you're getting underpaid. Even if all the other boxes are checked, so difficult to appreciate going in there thinking they do not pay me enough. At some point, it goes from disappointment, it turns into a hate, right? It turns into a deep-seated resentment. And so this client had all of these thoughts about her current job, but she had some of the typical barriers to contract negotiation, which was the fear. There's a fear about ruffling feathers, about seeming ungrateful, not wanting to just go in and demand. And I think it's harder to demand a certain amount when you don't know, or you can't provide your brain the evidence that what you're asking for is justified. We as doctors love evidence. We'd love to know for certain that this is the right way to go. And contract negotiation does come with a degree of uncertainty. So not knowing what to ask for and not knowing how to ask, and then being afraid that, you might have some repercussions from doing this the wrong way. And then the judgment layered in there that you didn't do it the last time and you hadn't done your research. All of it just creates this discomfort, and the discomfort will override the desire to do the negotiation. The other part of the discomfort is this feeling of, I don't want to go back and forth with somebody over anything. It feels confrontational. If you are not negotiating in a collaborative way, if you don't know how to do that, which is something I teach all of my clients in my program because I think it's critical, you will feel stressed about it. It'll just be too much. You'll just be overwhelmed by the thought and you will never do the asking. So that is where that client was when she started. We'll call her Dr. T. And she had succumbed initially to the pressure to sign, to just secure a job, I'm funny about this word security because I don't believe that jobs are actually secure. So she went and signed this job. This is one way. One of the things I talked about in this masterclass was how you block yourself from money. And this is one of those ways. It's agreeing to a job without thoroughly investigating the contract and without understanding what that money is tied to. So even if they present you with a dollar amount, if you don't understand how much time you're trading for that, the amount of workload you're trading for that, the potential of unpaid work that you're getting for that amount of money, you actually don't know if what you signed up for is worth the dollar amount on the paper. So you might have out your fancy calculator and you might be doing the maths to see how much you're going to take home every week, and you're going to get really excited about that. But you have not actually calculated how much of your life, how much of the quality of your life is going to change, and whether that's going to be worth that dollar amount. Are you going to be able to afford to do things that support you in this role? Let's say the role is very time consuming. Is the money going to balance the fact that you're going to probably need to pay for a housekeeper, outsource some laundry, maybe get some grocery delivery or meal delivery because you just don't have the time to take on to do some of those household tasks? Is the job going to pay for that? Is the salary amount going to do that for you? Is it going to help you create a home life that is supportive of the role that you're in? All of these things factor in when you're talking about money. That is a money blocker. I call them money blockers. If you're blocking yourself from receiving the most amount of money, it means you're not taking into consideration all of these factors. Again, that's where Dr. T was. She didn't know how to ask for this negotiation. She was considering quitting. She didn't understand that these jobs where you feel good are not always that easy to find. And it's actually easier to renegotiate in your role than it is to try to create this somewhere else, especially when you don't feel confident about negotiating. Okay. So with this Dr. T, I'm going to get straight to what happened to her and the results. She had to learn how to negotiate, how to figure out how much she was being underpaid by. When we did the process, I have an any day negotiator framework. In the framework, we literally are able to determine what is the value that you should be earning based on who you are, your specialty, how much time you've already committed, what is the trajectory of your career, what are the things that you bring to that job, not just I'm a family med physician with 3 to 5 years of experience with leadership capabilities, but also being able to manage staff is something that is a skill that we don't always think about on our resume. We think about our ability to process patients, maybe our ability to chart, but also what is your ability to get along with other people? What is your ability to lead the staff? What is your ability to calm a situation? All of those things are really valuable in a high stress environment like medicine. So we go through this process, we identify all your skills, we come up with what the value is that you should be earning. And in her case, it turned out to be $150,000 additional to what she was already making. She was able to create this negotiation process with her boss, approach him, set the meetings, and really make her case, like not convincing, but really just presenting this improved offer that would allow her to stay in the role in which she was in. Because really, retention is what a lot of these people want. They want to retain you. If they don't know what it takes to retain you, you're not being fair to your employers. You're thinking about how they're being unfair to you and not paying you, but you're also not communicating your needs. It's like a relationship. You don't expect your partner to automatically know exactly what you need, and then you punish them for it. That would not be an equitable relationship. That would be a relationship to be doomed. You have to tell people what you need. So in telling and communicating that need to her boss, he went back to HR. They determined if they were able to afford that in a budget. They paid her $150,000 extra on her base salary. That is a huge win. That is a skill that does not go away. Okay. But the reason I always say that my coaching program is 6 months is because you have doubts about things. Now you really feel grateful that they granted it for you. And are you going to ask for additional things in the future? It came time where a promotion came up for her and she was able to present herself in that way, understanding her value, and she was still afraid to ask for more money. Why is that? Because there's that voice in your head that's always going to tell you that this feels unsafe. That, oh God, I just got more money and they're offering me a promotion. I should be grateful. I shouldn't ask for more. And that is what I want to coach you through. I don't want you to stick in the place of always operating from a place of gratitude. You will be grateful and poor. I talked about a couple other examples. So one of which was a client who signed a 3-year contract. In the first 6 months, realized this is not the job for her. She had signed and received a sign-on bonus. So sign-on bonuses is another thing that you look at. You get your calculator out and you're like, ooh, that's about to be a sweet pot of money, especially coming out of training, especially coming out of another job, to get a bump, to get additional funds, relocation, sign-on, incentives. Feels good. They're just throwing money at you at this point and you feel so good about it. But there are strings. I want you to always remember that there are strings. The sign-on bonuses come with rules. If you leave before the first year is over, you have to repay the bonus. On the masterclass, someone mentioned a clause in their own contract that said that if they leave, they have to repay $25,000. That was higher even than their sign-on bonus. Can you imagine not even seeing that clause in your contract until now, or until you decide, I want to leave, I need an exit plan, let me start looking at my contract now? A lot of people turn to the contract when they're in trouble. I don't want that for you. I don't want you to turn to your contract only in the moment of doubt, just to figure out that A, it says something unfavorable to you, like you gonna owe us 25 G's to leave. You got to pay yourself. You got to buy your way out. This is slavery. Okay, this is like a kidnapping ransom. We own you and you got to pay your way out with a ransom. You need to know how much that ransom is, and you need to know what the conditions are. Can you even afford that? Because if it is cost prohibitive for you to leave, that means you are trapped there. You have to buy your way out of a job. That feels like, we know capitalism, especially this late stage capitalism, is built off the backs of slavery. But until you look at clauses like that, you don't realize how much to buy your freedom from a job. You are tied to this job. It's insane if you think about it. Okay, so she has this clause, this sign-on bonus that says if she leaves, I think hers was 10 or 15K, I don't remember. If you leave, you have to pay that back in full. Thing is, that was her first job out of training. She had taken a little break before she started. She was low on cash. That's a normal scenario. We don't make that much money in training. And God forbid you want to take a small break between residency or fellowship and starting being an attending, then you have even less cash. And now they want you to repay it because their job sucks. And they probably know that, honestly. That's why they built in that little clause. They are pinning you down. So if you're not reading your contract, you don't know what's in there. You don't know what the clause is. You don't know what the conditions are for that. So we managed to find a little loophole in her contract that allowed her to really not still be there full time and also not have to pay back the money. Now she's working she chose to follow a locums pathway. And in the locums pathway, she gets to be paid for travel. And she was able to determine that she really learned that there are other jobs that are just better than the one she had. Sometimes we don't look for another job when we're miserable because it feels like it might be out of the frying pan into the fire. Not with my framework though. So the way that I teach you how to find a new job, how to vet new jobs, automatically is like risk reduction in choosing a job that works for you, because we haven't been asking ourselves what we want. And so we don't often know. And when we go for a job, we go with that attitude of gratitude. You end up in a situation that you hate. If you approach it differently, if we use this framework that shows how to choose a job based on your needs, based on the lifestyle you're trying to live, how much you're trying to earn, who you are as an individual, how you want to practice, and we go through the interview process so that we can discern that kind of information real time so that we're making an accurate decision, you will end up in a job that you enjoy and that you like. And it won't be frying pan to fire. It'll be frying pan to beach, relaxing in the sunshine. She loves her new job. She says that people really respect her there. She gets along great with the nursing staff. No one questions her in a not to say in a way that's, oh, I shouldn't be questioned, but in a way that was unwarranted previously. People have a way of demeaning you in their questions, and she was no longer having that experience. So that is one of the huge wins, but she could have not had that experience and not had that outcome if we hadn't been able to figure out the contract language. So thankfully, she understood the predicament she was in. She reached out to her resources, which was me. I have built this framework. She was able to tap into that and then get out of that position. The other two topics I talked about in the masterclass, which I'm not going to go into too much today, is time and dreams. If you're not paying attention to what your schedule says, or the fact that they can change your schedule on demand, you again might be enslaved to these people. One little caveat I like to mention, because this comes up a lot and I've had multiple clients have this experience, is that it's not just about how much time they're granting you. It's also about what they do when other people are cashing in on that time off. So I have a client who is now being asked to pick up extra maternity, pick up extra call, pick up extra shifts because her colleague is going on maternity leave. And there's nothing in the contract that declares what happens when they lose staff, when staff goes out on leave, when someone's sick. Having gaps in the contract, having a vague contract is equally as detrimental as having a contract that says things that you wouldn't normally agree to. Both of those are dangerous because now you don't have anything to back you and you do have to fight your way through about not having to take on an entire panel of patients, which doesn't make any sense. They will convince you that you're not being a team player. They will convince you that you're not picking up the slack. I think her colleague who's in charge of that area, who's not directly your boss, said something like she's not able to meet the clinic needs. Like, how insulting. You're willing to pay another person a full salary to cover their patients, but now that they're going out on leave, you want me to cover everything that they've been doing, that you've been paying a whole salary for, that a whole individual has been doing, and telling me that because I'm unable, that I am not able to meet clinic needs. You know what, damn, I'm not able to meet clinic needs. Miss me with that BS. I ain't doing it. You want me to be unpaid doing someone else's job? That is crazy to me. Crazy. Not going to happen. So knowing what your contract says and what it does not say, equally important. Okay. That's all I'm going to share today. The other topic I would say was dreams, and it was how are they going to prevent you from pursuing your dreams outside of work? Because there are clauses in your contract that talk about who you're allowed to work for while you're working with them, what you're allowed to create, the fact that they could potentially own your intellectual property. Contract language is tricky. So it's really just as much about what they say as what they don't say. Okay, so before I hop off, because I got to go to clinic. I know clinic, but I don't actually mind because really it's my one day in this week. If you are an early career Black physician who is approaching a negotiation and wants to go through with a strategy that helps you vet jobs, increase your job offers, understand how to utilize leverage to create a contract that is sustainable, that allows you to either work part-time or work full-time if that's what you want, although who wants that, but earn the money that it would take to support a part-time career, earn the money that it would take to support the dreams and the pursuits of other things you want outside of work. If that is you, please DM me on Instagram, The Black Doctor, or go on the website, theblackdoctor.com, and sign up for a sales call. In that call, we determine what is your best course of action, what you need to do, how I can help you. Okay? It's a decision call. You get to decide if this is the program for you. If you are a Black early career physician and you're in a contract that you didn't read or you want to amend and you don't know how, You want to create a promotion opportunity. You want to create an opportunity to gain a raise. You want to make tweaks in your existing position. You want to not hate your job. You want to not feel depleted at the end of the day. You need to get on a sales call with me. We need to talk about what your options are. And then you get to decide if these are options you want to pursue or if you want to stay where you are as it is. Those are choices. You always have choices. You always have options. You are not crazy for wanting a better work environment. You are not crazy for exploring your options. You are not the only one in a job that isn't treating you well, that is underpaying you. Not everybody is miserable in their job and not everybody's underpaid. I want you to join that group. The group of people who are making money and are feeling joy in their jobs. That's the club we want to be a part of. We don't want to keep paying dues to this other club of being unhappy, underappreciated, underpaid, overworked. All those things feel gross. I feel it in my body just talking about it. I feel like my shoulders just felt a tremendous amount of pressure and tension just thinking about being in a job that makes me feel not valued or underappreciated. And imagine that you're having that feeling every day. The wear and tear on your body, on your spirit, on your motivation to even continue practicing medicine, over time, it's just going to wear you down. You did all of this work to get here and you don't even enjoy it? Nah, we don't know. You got all this way and it's now threatening your mental health or it's ruining your relationship with your partner, your spouse, it's depleting time that you have with your children. Like, no way. We don't want that. We don't tolerate that. Not in the NAJ Negotiator program. We are not here for that. If you want to understand exactly for your specific scenario how this program can work for you, we got to get on a call so we can talk about it. I can ask you all the questions about what's going on with you, and we can come up with a treatment plan for how you're going to get out of this scenario. I look forward to hearing from you. If you missed a masterclass, stay tuned for future ones. I'm sure I'll have one maybe later in the summer or early fall. Otherwise, keep listening to the podcast. I appreciate you. Keep following on Instagram. I appreciate you. Have a good week. Bye. Thank you so much for listening. Please subscribe to the podcast. And what I want you to do next is link us everywhere you can. Instagram at The Black Doctor. Just become part of our collective. I want you here. Thanks. Until next time. Bye.